Robert Redford died in a very sad way when his wife told everyone his secret. Robert Redford was born with the name Charles Robert Redford Jr.B. on August 18, 1936 in Santa Monica, California. He grew up in a simple home during the Great Depression. His father, Charles Redford, Sr., was a milkman who later became an accountant, while his mother, Martha Hart Redford, helped young Robert be creative and use his imagination. Even though he would later become one of the most well-known faces in the world, his early years were full of questions and figuring out who he was. Redford was rebellious as a young person and curious about art, which made him different from his friends. He loved painting and telling stories long before he started acting on screen. Redford went to the University of Colorado because he got a baseball scholarship, but he had trouble with school, and finally lost his scholarship because he couldn't focus and drank too much alcohol during that time. Looking for new purpose, he traveled through Europe, an experience that really changed his view of the world. Living as a poor artist in Paris and Florence, he learned to love culture, buildings, and the power of expressing yourself. When he came back to the United States, he decided to become an actor, a choice that will shape the rest of his life. He studied at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York, where his natural charm and careful way of performing quickly made him stand out. His early career started on the stage with important roles in Broadway shows such as Barefoot in the Park 1963, where his mix of boyish charm and deep emotions got the attention of both audiences and critics. Hollywood soon noticed him, and Redford moved to making movies with ease. His first big role came in Inside Daisy Clover 1965, but it was his performance in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid 1969 with Paul Newman that made him a worldwide superstar. The film not only made his image as the perfect American anti-hero, but also started one of the most famous partnerships in movie history throughout the 1970s. Redford's career grew to even bigger heights. He acted in a bunch of movies that critics loved and that made lots of money, including The Sting, 1973, which put him back together with Newman and got him an Academy Award nomination. His roles in The Way We Were, 1973 with Barbara Streisand, and All the President's Men 1976, where he played journalist Bob Woodward, showed his ability to play different roles and his smarts as an actor. These films not only showed Redford's growing experience but also his bigger interest in stories that had political and emotional meaning. Besides his acting, Redford grew to love directing and producing. His first movie as a director, Ordinary People, 1980, was a huge success, winning 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. The film's quiet, thoughtful look at family sadness and talking to each other showed Redford's skill as a storyteller and his ability to get powerful performances from his actors. His later films such as A River Runs Through It 1992, Quiz Show 1994, and The Horse Whisperer 1998 showed even more his gift for mixing beauty, humanity, and moral thinking. Beyond Hollywood, Robert Redford's influence reached into helping the environment and supporting independent film. In 1981, he started the Sundance Institute in Utah, named after his famous film character. The Sundance Film Festival, which came out of that institute, became the most important place for independent filmmaking worldwide, giving a voice to new artists and changing American cinema. Redford's work on helping creativity and new ideas turned out to be as important as his acting career, making his legacy strong as both an artist and a forward-thinking leader. As he got older, Redford continued to amaze audiences with roles that showed wisdom and deep thought. His performances in The Natural, 1984, Out of Africa, 1985, All Is Lost 2013, and The Old Man and the Gun 2018 showed his lasting charm and quiet mastery of acting. Even when announced he was retiring from acting in 2018, his influence stayed as strong as ever. His career lasted over 6 decades, yet his realness never changed. He stayed at heart as a storyteller driven by curiosity, doing what's right, and caring about others. Robert Redford's romantic life has been a mirror of the deep changing complexity that often was part of his artistic and personal journey. His marriages, first to Lola Van Wagenen and later to Sybil Shaggers, represent 2 different times in his life. One based in big dreams and the building of a family, and the other based in being older, thinking deeply, and a search for peace and creative balance. Both women played big roles in shaping theme and behind the famous person. helping to show the human side of a person often known for keeping quiet and being mysterious. Redford's first marriage to Lola Van Wagenen began in 1958 at a time when he was still a hopeful young actor trying to find his place in the world. Lola, a smart and independent woman from Provo, Utah, believed in many of Redford's values, especially his belief in education, caring about the environment, and social responsibility. Their marriage was not a Hollywood deal, but a partnership that came from real love and shared beliefs. The couple ran away to get married quietly, far from the glamour of show business, showing Redford's lifelong choice for privacy and being real. Together, they built a family that would become the emotional center of Redford's life, raising 4 children, Scott, Shauna, David, and Amy, in an environment that focused on creativity, learning, and down-to-earth values. Their years together were not without hardship. Redford's career took a really fast during the 1960s and 1970 seconds with films like Butch Cassidy and The Sundance Kid, The Sting, and All the President's Men, shooting him into international stardom. While Lola supported him constantly, fame brought treasures that few couples could handle. Redford was often away on location, deep into demanding roles, while Lola took care of much of the family life and did her own work, earning a PhD in American history and later becoming an activist and documentary producer. Despite their shared commitment to each other and their children, the stress of distance, fame, and different professional paths began to hurt their relationship. After nearly 3 decades together, their marriage ended in divorce in 1985. It was a very personal and painful change for Redford, one that left them thinking deeply, but also determined to find balance and peace in his latter years. Yet, even after they separated, both continued to show mutual respect and thanks for the years they had shared and the family they had built together. After many years of staying single and focusing on his work with the Sundance Institute, environmental causes, and independent filmmaking, Redford found lasting friendship with Sybil Shaggers, a German woman who made multimedia art whose spiritual and creative feelings matched deeply with his own. The twomit in the 1990s, brought together by a shared love for art, nature, and the search for meaningful expression. Shaggers' work, often centered on their relationship between humans and the environment, matched Redford's lifelong dedication to nature and social themes. Their bond grew slowly, based not in the fiery passion of youth, but in mutual respect, shared creativity, and a deep understanding of life's shortness and beauty. In 2009, after more than 10 years together, Robert Redford and Sybil Shaggers were married in a private ceremony at the Louis C. Jacob Hotel in Hamburg, Germany. The wedding was small, attended by close family and friends, standing for not just a union of 12 people, but a joining of artistic spirits. Their life together in Sundance, Utah, in the mountains and wilderness that Redford has long loved, has been marked by calmness and artistic working together. Shaggers continues her work as an environmental artist, and Redford has often talked about how her creativity and spiritual outlook have inspired and helped him stay steady in his later years. Tragic secrets cost Robert Redford his life and career. He died when his wife told everyone about it. Robert Redford was more than just a movie star. He was a symbol of grace, honesty, and movie excellence. Yet, behind his calm public image were deep emotional scars and painful secrets that bothered him throughout his life. Though he built an amazing career as an actor, director, and producer, his private world was filled with tragedy, guilt, and heartbreak. In his later years, the pressure of carrying those memories reportedly became much to bear. When his wife finally told the truth about his hidden pain, the world saw a side of Redford that few could have ever imagined. From an early age, Redford felt both lucky and weighed down by a strong sense of wanting to succeed. "I wanted to be someone who mattered," he once said, looking back on his youth. But the pressure he put on himself would soon mix with a series of tragedies that would follow him for decades. One of the deepest wounds of his life came early. The death of his firstborn child, Scott, who passed away from sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS, at just 2.5 months old. Redford rarely talked about it publicly, but when did, the pain in his words was impossible to miss. "You never get over something like that," he admitted. "You just learn to live with it, but it changes you forever." This terrible loss shaped his view in family, fame, and how fragile life is. Behind every smile he gave on camera, there stayed a sadness that never truly went away. As Redford's career took off in the 1960s and 1970 seconds with classics like Butch Cassidy and The Sundance Kid, The Sting, and All the President's Men, he became one of Hollywood's most admired leading men. Yet, the fame that brought him global recognition also pushed him away from those he loved most. Fame is a mask that can suffocate you, he once said. You start losing sight of who you really are. The success had worked so hard to achieve came with an unbearable loneliness. The perfectionist in him demanded control, but life kept reminding him how little control he truly had. Redford's marriage to his first wife, Lala Van Wegeen, also carried its share of stress and sadness. Though the couples had 4 children and many meaningful years together, the pressures of famine, the aftershocks of their child's death eventually tore them apart. We grew in different directions, Redford said quietly in later interviews. Sometimes love isn't enough to keep 2 people together. Their divorce in 1985 was painful, but it was a step Redford felt was necessary to find peace, something that would stay out of reach for much of his life. Later, he found new friendship with artist Sybil Shaggers, whom he married in 2009 after more than a decade together. For a time, it seemed that Redford had finally found calmness in love, nature, and creativity. But even in the quiet moments of his latter years, the ghosts of his past virtually left him. His wife eventually told everyone that Redford had long fought deep emotional trouble and times of depression coming from his personalities and the pressures of public life. He carried a sadness that no one could see. She shared with tears after his passing. He hid it behind his strength, behind his art, behind his silence. Friends who knew Redford privately described him as a man of huge depth, a perfectionist who demanded the same hard work from himself that he gave to his craft. Yet that same perfectionism often made him his own meanest critic. I always felt like I wasn't enough, he reportedly told a close friend in his latter years. The tension between his private pain and public image became a quiet battle that hurt both his health and his spirit. When Redford's wife revealed these truths after his death, it shocked fans who had always seen him as a model of calmness and control. The news that one of Hollywood's most admired people had suffered so deeply in silence added a heartbreaking layer to his legacy. History became not only that of an artist, but of a man weighed down by sorrow, guilt, and the weight of unspoken pain. Robert Redford's death marked the end of an era, but it also showed light on the humanity behind the legend. The secret pain that shaped his life ultimately shaped his art, giving his performances a quiet intensity that came from real experience. Pain teaches you what joy really is, Redford once said. You can't understand one without the other. His words now echo as both a confession and a lesson. A reminder that even the brightest stars carry shadows that the world may never fully see. On September 16, 2005, the world woke up to heartbreaking news that marked the end of an era in Hollywood. Robert Redford, the iconic actor, director, and environmentalist, passed away peacefully in his sleep at his home in Sundance, Utah at the age of 89. The news sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry and beyond as millions of admirers around the world mourned the loss of a man who had Kometo represent honesty, artistic vision, and timeless charm. Redford's death was confirmed by his family, who shared they had been surrounded by loved ones in his final days, resting comfortably in the mountain retreat that had long been his safe place, the very place that held his creative legacy. Sundance, news of his death brought tributes from all corners of the world, from Hollywood legends to political leaders, from filmmakers who found their voice through Sundance to fans who had grown up watching his films. Actors who had worked with him described him as kind, disciplined, and wise by measure. Directors credited him with changing American cinema by giving independent films a real platform. Environmentalists celebrated him as a pioneer who used his fame to speak up for the planet long before it became popular to do so. His passing, they said, felt like the closing of a golden chapter in the story of American film.